we gotta do is just step through like, oh, yes! Wow, so this is where it all started. And that looks so beautiful. All right, so when do I get my full power? Y'all got Wi-Fi? I wasn't expecting to be walking this much. Somebody said they were selling dragons about 2 stars over. Harriet! Y'all know where I can get my hair braided? Where we finna eat at? I did not know she was black.
Hey y'all, so I kind of lost track of time when I got my superpowers and I visited the spirit realm. And I actually got like an early access ticket to the spirit realm because I was a part of the group of people like helping to educate non-black people. So then my ancestors were like, hey Caleb, you know, we saw what you were doing back in May, June, here's your ticket. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'll be there. And so yeah, I got my powers yesterday. It was great. And I just didn't upload videos. I wasn't really worried about what was happening, you know, in the earth realm of things. It's real ghetto down here. So I was just like, yikes to that YouTube channel. Oh my gosh, Vlogmas? Who's that? Never heard of her. But I'm back. You know, gratitude and blessings to my ancestors and to all the black folks out there who celebrated their, you know, Black People's Power Day. Yeah, I hope you still have access to your powers. I went ahead and like stored mine in my luggage. Might pull them out in the video. I don't know. So yeah, I'm back. All jokes aside, I'm back here with another video. And I'm gonna be talking about my disappointing reads. Actually, one second. Okay, I'm back. I had to grab my notes real quick. Like I said, I'm gonna be talking about my disappointing reads of this year. And I feel like to start, it's not gonna be a disclaimer. I feel like a lot of YouTubers are like, oh my gosh, if you like this book, it's okay. But I don't care if you liked it or not. But my like disclaimer, or like to start with, I feel like I have to define what is disappointing versus what is like something I don't like. I feel like disappointing more so emphasizes like I had a high expectation for this book and it fell short. Whereas like things I didn't like or books I didn't like or just like books I don't like. I don't know. But these are mostly just books that like had a lot of hype or like I had expectations for, and those expectations like were not met in any sort of way. And I have 2 honorable mentions, like books that I like thought were disappointing, but like only because I have like for petty reasons that I really don't feel like should make it on the disappointing reads list, but you know, are honorable mentions. But to start, and I feel like I'm gonna get roasted for this, but Freshwater by Koike Emezi. They are an excellent writer. They're amazing. So my introduction to Koike's work was through Pet, and I thought Pet was an amazing book, and like the writing was impeccable, and like I don't know, the whole story was just really, really great. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna read Freshwater and it's gonna be just as good. And it wasn't. It was really, really strange. It was just like the first chapter, I was like, what is going on? I don't know if y'all read it, but the first chapter, this isn't giving any spoilers. The first chapter had something to do with like a snake or something. And I was just really confused. And I tried to just get past the first chapter, but then the second chapter also was just really weird. And I was like, you know, maybe me and this book, our relationship doesn't begin here. And so I did not finish that book. And that was just really disappointing for me. But I did, story time. I had a crush, still currently do have a crush, who may or may not be a booktuber, who loves a Koike Emezi. And I was like, also this is like their one of their favorite books, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll give it another chance. And so that's how you know, influencers can really influence you to, you know, buy books because they like the book. So I was like, let me try reading it again, and I read it again, and this time I read it not only like the physical copy, but I also listened to it on audiobook. And I feel like the audiobook experience really like helped me like get into it more, because I'm pretty sure Freshwater, which is also I found out later that Freshwater was Emezi's first book, and so maybe I liked Pet so more because authors tend to get better at writing with their like the following books that they write, because as y'all know, I really enjoyed The Death of Vivek Oji. Not that I enjoyed the death of a trans person, but I enjoyed that book, and I enjoyed Pet, but Freshwater just didn't hit me the same like way as those other books. I feel like I went off on a tangent. That was just to say that I feel like Emezi's writing got better as they published more books. And when I read it a second time, I did enjoy how they talked about, so I am someone who has survived sexual violence, and the way that they talked about sex and like conflict between body and self was actually really impressive and interesting. But that was my biggest takeaway from Freshwater. I would not say that that was like my favorite book ever, but after giving it another chance, I did enjoy it. But the only reason I gave it another chance is because I had a crush on a person. And yeah. The rest of the books on this list are actual disappointing reads. I just feel like that did make it to the list, but I feel like I need to like justify like, hey, I gave it another shot though. So yeah. The second book is Little and Lion, and I did not actually write the authors' names for these books. So I will be putting the books like either on the screen or like showing y'all a clip of the book whenever I edit it. But this book just portrayed mental illness so poorly. Like I had never read a book that was just so like horrible at portraying how people with mental illnesses like behave. Like the person I think had schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. I know definitely the main character ends up being like suicidal, and I really don't care to like give y'all spoilers. I don't feel like that is a spoiler, but I also don't care to give y'all spoilers because I don't think you should read this book unless you want to see an example of how not to write characters with mental illnesses. But they just had this character always be so like angry and like just like dramatic about everything, and I was like, this is not like, what is this? And then like just the way the dialogue between that character and the other characters were so like, I don't even know how to explain it. I was just so annoyed reading it because I was like, who wrote this? Like, did you talk to someone with this diagnosis and like ask them like, hey, how do you behave? But no, it was just like this dramatized like insane person. I don't know how to describe that any better, but I was really uncomfortable with how mental illness was portrayed in that book. And that was my biggest like thing with that, and that's why it was disappointing, because a lot of the books that I read are by Black authors, are about queerness, or also by queer authors, or books by like people of color. So I like really hate whenever those books fall short. So yeah, I don't think I have any white books on this list. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't, because I don't take time to read books by white authors. Like, no offense. Yeah, and then next on my list, again, I feel like I'm gonna get roasted for this. I actually recorded a book review for this, but I like didn't have like the heart in me to put it out there because I was like, no, this is a debut author. This is a book that everyone like seems to be hyping up, but I haven't seen people actually like post reviews about. But the Henna Wars, yeah. Now, I really tried. I tried. And this is one of those books where like there was so much hype behind it, like great representation. It was like one of its one of its kind. Is that how you say that phrase? The only one of its kind. Anyways, I like listened to author interviews, tried to like, okay, I can see her perspective, all that. And like after listening to author interviews, my 2-star rating bumped up to a 3-star rating, but it was still really disappointing. Mostly because the author did a lot of, again, I forget the author's name, but I didn't write the author's name for any of these books. But that book was the perfect example of an author telling and not showing. And that was annoying throughout the entire book. Like, there's discussions on cultural appropriation, but all the discussion on cultural appropriation was just like heavy-handed like dialogue that was like, don't culturally appropriate people's culture. Like, it was just so like, okay, we get it, like, please. And then people also hyped this book saying that it was like an enemies to lovers trope happening there, but like, they were not actually enemies. At most, they were like people who had a disagreement. And I don't know, I feel bad because, like, yes, have I read, or not yes, no, I've never read a book with a Bangladeshi queer, specifically lesbian, like, representation. No, I haven't. And also Muslim representation. No, I haven't. And so I really, really wanted this book to be like amazing, and it was just a lot of like the author trying to like teach the reader, but in the most like it just wasn't well executed, in my opinion. I do agree. I'm gonna post some own voices reviews, because there's a few reviews out there, so I'm gonna post some own voices reviews in the description below, so you can check out what their opinions are on the book, because I don't hold those identities. I mean, I am queer, but I don't hold the other identities, so maybe I like just missed out. But I did not enjoy how, like, I think the word is heavy-handed. Like, instead of letting me come to my own conclusions about what was happening and like what was right or wrong, the author like felt the need to tell me what was right and wrong and tell me like, this is how you should handle this. And it was just like, all right, I get it. And it was like every chapter was like a lesson, and like the same lesson over and over and over again. And I was like, yikes. And then the story wasn't even that like intriguing. The part that I liked the most was like the little cute romancy parts, and the wedding. The wedding was beautiful. And I feel like there were good conversations about faith, spirituality, and queerness in there. So that was good. But again, it required me to watch author interviews to like have some like, I guess, sympathy for the author and like bump it up in scoring. But again, disappointing. Next, A Phoenix First Must Burn, which is a short story collection of many things, or many authors, I mean. And I honestly think this is a book where I need to try it again. But those stories were like, none of the stories were intriguing, and the only story that I like really remember enjoying sorta was a story about like fat black, it wasn't even about fat black mermaids, it just had fat black mermaids in it. I think it was a story about like a witch or a wizard, and we were following their journey. So it was like a hero's journey type trope, and overall so many of those stories, like, it felt so rushed, and like the author was like explaining stuff with the story, and then was like, ooh, we're at the end, so let me wrap it up right here and like close it in a way that doesn't even make sense, but we're done. And I was just like, okay. And the reason why I say maybe I should give this another try is because like, perhaps, or maybe not this another try, but give like short stories, like find a good example of a short story collection, and then compare this book with that. Because maybe that would be a better approach to it, or maybe perhaps like short stories aren't my thing, but yeah. And my two honorable mentions are Real Life. Again, I think his name is Brandon something. So my honorable mentions again are, like, I don't like them for petty reasons, and Real Life, it does this thing where the author like gets really sciencey and technical, and I'm like, you really don't have to hit us over the head with this. Again, it was super heavy-handed on the like technical terms, and I'm like, I get it, you are a cell bio major or like a biochemist in grad school, we get it, okay, like, and I was just annoyed every time he like brought up any sort of molecular structure. And I'm a science major. I get, like, it's like, yes, deoxyribonucleic acid is cool, but you don't have to bring it up like every other sentence or every paragraph. So that's my like petty reason for like not finishing that book and feeling like it like fell short. Because again, I saw this on, I'm pretty sure Bookstagram, it was like being hyped over there. And I was like, oh, okay, this sounds like a book I would love. And then it wasn't at all. So I was like, okay. And last but not least, Dear Martin. I don't know if this is really petty, but this book just wasn't written for me. So I was disappointed in it. It was a book that read as if it was teaching, which it was, but teaching for, or I think it was intended for non-Black people to understand the Black experience. And I can appreciate that for what it is, but I was just not expecting that. I guess I should have been expecting that. But I was just bored. I was like, okay, yes, we know that like racism exists. We know that like, yes, Black people who come from poorer neighborhoods experience this stuff. And I was just not impressed with how, like, I guess how direct, again, with the like telling and not showing, because I think, so the main character's name was Justice, I think, and then he ends up with like a white girl. I was over it. I was like, okay. I did finish that book because I was expecting it to get better, like as it carried on, and it just didn't. I'm forgetting the exact story because I read it back in March, early pandemic. That also might be a reason why some of these books fell short for me, because it was like right whenever the pandemic was like really getting like horrific. I mean, it currently still is horrific, but initially getting horrific in the US. And so maybe like my ratings on these books were impacted by how I was feeling. But I don't really think so. I think these books actually just fell short for me. So yeah, in the comments below, if you have any disappointing reads, list them below. Also in the comments, if you've gotten this far, I notice I really like how I look in purple. So comment something purple. It can be like a purple heart, or there might be like a purple flower down, I don't know. Comment something purple, or the word purple. And I will see you tomorrow, most likely. If I don't go back to the spirit realm, you know? Yeah, that's why I left. All right, bye.